Welcome to the Hallmark After Show podcast, everybody.
How's
Hello.
everyone doing? Woo!
Oh, how's it going? We're maxing out the levels. We're bringing a lot of enthusiasm to the episode today.
Sorry, guys.
I'm your host, Will Carey, and joining me is my co-host and wife, Chelsea Connor. How are you, dear?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am doing spectacular. It is the weekend. We've got another premiere of the year. You know, there's the dawn of a new era in the United States of the premiere of the year.
I like that.
There's a new dawn of hope and optimism in America right now, which is not going to apply to our film today because our film is not set in America. But I'm feeling the holiday spirit. I'm in the mood. The season has touched me, as they say.
Yeah, well, we spent much of our day also wrapping holiday gifts, so that brought some joy to the house as well.
I never wrap Christmas presents this early, and I have and anybody who listens to this who might know us personally, Chelsea's gift wrapping is, I'm going to say, very perfect and amazing.
No, it's not.
There are bows. She does the thing where she opens the scissors and fidgets with the bow, so it does. I don't know what that does exactly.
Curls the bow.
Curls the bow. And I, on the other hand, I feel like there's a certain rustic amateurism.
Will buys one roll of wrapping paper a year, guys, and then lets last year's finish up. So what happens is the tree has half of the gifts of one paper. Which are Will's gifts for me, which is lovely because I don't need to even look at the labels. All the labels are lovingly written with care in our household. Our gifts come from funny individuals, which is a holdover from my lovely father.
Which is a tradition I instantly embraced and was very excited about.
And I have to say, I mean, that's sort of one minor bummer of the change in power in the United States that's happening right now, because for 4 glorious years, we've had tremendous gift givers in the White House. I mean, when we first moved into this home, we needed some serving platters and things. And so every gift was stolen from the White House from Melania or Ivanka or I mean, not really, just to be clear, but everything was sort of gifted. My dad once wrapped a 2-gallon Ziploc bag of coins and said it was courtesy of the Treasury Department because they just couldn't deal with sorting them.
Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
So in our house, our gifts come from really funny people. Not all the time, but I would say a good majority of the time they do. Some things are just personal, and then you say they're from yourself. But
yeah, exactly. I've got a couple in there that are like that.
Yeah, we spent the day gift wrapping. I think mostly because our house was getting full of boxes. It was already full of boxes from our canceled wedding earlier this year. And it was just cardboard was taking over, and I thought, well, at least holiday wrapping is joyous and more joyous than a cardboard box. So
yeah, I mean, for some people, although when I was a kid, the amount of joy I could wring out of a cardboard box, immeasurable amount of joy.
But
from a cardboard box.
As soon as we were done with all the wrapping our packages with care and ribbon and glitter that is vomited all over our house now, we settled in to watch the lovely Christmas in Vienna.
Yes, Christmas in Vienna, starring Brennan Elliott as our male protagonist. You might recognize him from he played a role in Night at the Museum and Curse of Chucky, which is I think the most recent Chucky movie. Our main character of the film is played by Sarah Drew, who, Chelsea, you might recognize her as Dr. April Kepner from Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yes. But she also plays a character in Everwood, I think also by the name April, which is kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I'm 99% sure she's also April in that show. If not, though, that's a carryover. But yes, I definitely recognize her from Grey's Anatomy, and I definitely recognize her from the WB show, The Everwood, which is amazing if those haven't watched it.
Yes, a classic hour-long drama ever would, like
Yeah.
teen drama.
Teen drama.
So our plot for the film today. So as I said earlier, we are not in America for this film. We are, as the title would have you think, Vienna, Austria, and we follow Jess, a concert violinist whose heart just isn't in it anymore. And she goes to Vienna for a performance. While there, she finds the inspiration she has been missing and a new love. Now, if that sounds familiar to you folks,
Because we already watched it 2 weeks ago.
it
Was called Chateau Christmas.
but now we're going international. The
Right.
chateau, although I feel like the chateau, if there is a chateau in this movie, it's the I'm going to say the residence that our main male character plays in, because our male character Mark is a diplomat from the United States of America, which interestingly enough, Chelsea and I have some experience with this
Yeah,
occupation.
I mean, well, yeah.
Not us personally, but
No, we do. We worked for the Canadian government abroad.
Yes, but we weren't diplomats.
Correct. You were not a diplomat.
But
correct.
we worked with diplomats.
Correct. And what's funny about it is they go to great lengths to like explain the diplomatic corps, and they do it incorrectly. Like we spend 5 minutes explaining it and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because his title in this is actually minister. And for folks who are Canadian listeners, who I'm sure there are many of our friends from our time working for the government of Canada,
yes,
are aware a minister. We don't have ministers in the United States, and they wouldn't be going abroad. But even if he was a minister from another country, he'd only be there temporarily. He wouldn't have taken up residence in a foreign country as a minister.
Right. Well, I think they were just more or less trying to get to the point of here's somebody
he ain't
who's
no ambassador, which is why he doesn't have a fancy entourage. I think they were just trying to explain away why there wasn't
Right.
more humans around him
Well,
all the time.
Yeah, exactly. A good way to get around budgets and having to hire extra actors, because like if you watch like most political shows, like your Madam Secretaries and your West Wings, these high-powered like political or government types always have like a phalanx of people behind them with notebooks and making notes and reminding
body
them of
men
things.
and Secret Service agents, which Joe Biden has none of because,
Yeah, he's just kind
the
of
current president can't give up. But
Yeah,
in any event, back to the
gotta let
movie.
it go.
So I was excited about this one, guys, because it was abroad, which, for me is like a change of pace. They enjoy many like foreign foods, which I like. But I didn't.
it plays into what I think we would enjoy. Yeah, travel and
Totally.
and foreign food. Absolutely.
But like, very quickly she runs in. Well, she's there to play a concert on Christmas Eve at the famous Vienna Opera House. And her friend from college, as luck would have it, or roommate from college, as luck would have it, is living there with the guy who ends up being her love interest, who's the minister.
Yes.
It's really like a deputy ambassadorship, but in any event.
Yeah, I like how you're just like
deputy
it's
consul
like
general.
he says this, but
It's not that.
he's saying he's like up here and I'm pointing up, but he's really like down here and I'm going much lower.
Yeah. But he lives in a beautiful residence, which, as we all know, like even the Canadian residence in the United States is just a couple of rooms, apartments. It's not like a palace. But anyway, let's suspend disbelief, as we are wont to do in Hallmark land.
Yeah.
And she meets up with her college roommate, who happens to be the cousin of said minister, who it appears like she lives with them, but she actually has like a job of caring for the children. Like that's how she got there.
Right. Well, you're talking about the blonde woman?
Yes.
Right. So yeah. So she was. She's from Vienna, I believe, and it seems like she's involved with taking care of this guy's 3 kids, who sadly his wife tragically had passed away.
Who's Viennese, as luck would have it.
Yes.
Also, all 3 children, who are range in age from like 15 to 6, all have different accents, like wildly different countries' accents, and like. For friends of ours in the diplomatic corps, like, yeah, maybe, but they'd all sort of like coalesce around one, which would be whatever the time they spent like as a family the most. But we're suspending disbelief. But she runs into her friend, and her friend gets this incredible opportunity to sell Christmas ornaments at the very famous, important market in Vienna.
Because not only is it Hallmark, so we got to have a holiday fair, but because we are in Austria, which is, I feel like also has a lot of German culture influence, and they love Christmas.
Yeah, they love Christmas.
So we're going all in. So this is a big deal, big opportunity.
So so babysitter, for lack of a better word, or nanny, is like, I'm selling stuff at the holiday fair and this is a life dream of mine. So she goes and does that, and she's like, hey, Jess, who's there for work, right, to play in a concert. He's
Right.
like, hey, you'll watch the children, right?
Yeah, which I honestly thought, which I thought, I'm right with you, dear. I thought was pretty presumptuous. Even if like a really good friend of mine had an amazing opportunity, I would have been like, I got plans. I'm not in Vienna every day
Yeah.
like you are. I thought that was very presumptive, especially of the former roommate relationship.
Well, right. I'm like, how many? I don't. Oh, of course, I'm sure some of my former college roommates are probably listening to this, but on the likely chance that they're not, love you all. But none of you I've really kept in touch with. Like, I don't think any of you have met Will really.
Hmm.
And you've all gone your separate ways about the world. But I just can't imagine popping down in a city and being asked by any of you to watch three children for a week. Like, I
Yeah,
just
exactly.
can't.
That's like a big undertaking. Like I would be immediately overwhelmed and stressed out and anxious. I mean, fortunately, because these are Hallmark children, they're very like
Perfectly behaved.
they're very well behaved. They're very enthusiastic about things. You don't hear a lot of no and screaming and whining like you would in like an American comedy, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No, so anyway, so she embarks to like go and take care of these children for a while. She keeps running into the
Mark,
minister dude.
the minister dude,
Minister dude.
who she meets earlier at the street fair, and then later at a party, and then it's like, oh no, it's you again. So it's one of those
Yeah. The thing
situations.
I find remarkable, and I am going to like skip ahead eons in this movie, but the thing I find remarkable about Hallmark movies is how quickly and seriously everyone like falls in love
Yes.
and then makes life like major life decisions around knowing someone for like 36 hours
Right.
with no kisses, no dates, no sex, none of that. Like
Right.
we're picking like where to move and how to live, and like I just always find that remarkable in the Hallmark movies, but this one in particular because it involves a lot of international travel with it as well.
Yeah, and
Um,
presumably all of the complications that come in with that. Like if you're suddenly like, I'm going to stay in Vienna, what are you going to do with all of your stuff back home in the United States? How are you going to get an application for permanent residence? Like, what about your family and your?
yeah,
There's so many implications that are and complications that are glossed over, but we're just living in the moment of the emotion. I
but
think.
the crisis that's set up in this one is minister dude has been offered a promotion, which is not ambassadorship. It's like something between minister and ambassadorship,
It's like a
which again
slightly. It's
doesn't exist.
it's
Just to
like a
be clear, there's
in
a consul general, there's a deputy consul general, there's an ambassador, a deputy ambassador.
Is it the
Each
same in Austria?
location is, yes, every country is the
Every country
same,
is the same.
and well, the same except the countries themselves are ranked, right? Some are hardship posts, some are
Sure.
not, and
Right.
whatever. Anyway, but that's way too much detail. But still, the movie gives you a lot more, and it's all wrong. But in any event, just wanted to clarify that for those who were like watching this thinking like, I want to join the diplomatic corps. It is terrifying.
Yeah, they try to make it seem like it's like he's this like kind of super ambitious person, but also, it's
But he works for the government.
and it's the lifestyle it's like the professional equivalent of like being a touring musician. I've always compared it to. It's like, oh, we got to head out on the road. We're not sitting down roots anywhere, baby. We're just living on the edge, like
Right. Also, the
vagabonds.
like transfers don't typically happen like the day after Christmas, which is another thing. Like
Oh
they're
yeah,
usually
no,
over the
nothing.
summer.
Nothing's getting done from
Yeah.
like December 20th to like January
Right.
2nd.
So usually just for folks who are interested, usually the moves in the diplomatic corps happen in August, July, August, over the summer when things are quiet in
Mm-hmm.
most countries around the world. They also happen like on a 4-year cycle, right? So it's not like you'd be there for like a year or two and then disappear,
Yeah,
which this would imply. But in any event, again, we're suspending disbelief.
we are.
So the crisis that's set up in this movie is that Jess, is planning to quit music altogether, which shocker.
Yeah, because she just doesn't feel anymore. So she's here for her final performance, and she's at a crossroads in her life. At the same
Because
time,
that's a good reason to quit a job. I just don't feel it anymore.
I mean, the
Like, how
amount
much
of
more millennial can you get? I have a mortgage, folks. Like,
I mean, the amount of people that I know that just stay in jobs that they hate for years and their only release is death is,
yeah. But anyway, in Hallmark land, we quit things
yeah,
because we're just a bunch of quitters.
yeah, we just don't know what to
And
do. We
so
don't.
this will be her final performance in Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
And his sort of crisis is he's been offered this job opportunity in Zurich, which for folks who don't know geography, Zurich's like a 7.5 hour drive away. Like, it's not that far. It's like a 40-minute plane ride
It's also culturally not that different. It's another European country
with
that
chocolate and waffles.
also speaks German and English.
Yeah, so it's fine. And there's mountains there too.
Yeah, it's like it's like leaving Philadelphia for New York, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't get it either. But in any event, so that's sort of the crossroads. And as our luck would have it, she finds the passion and love for violin again through spending time with children, which I don't get fully, but again, suspending disbelief. Spending time with young people invigorates you. I'll buy into that.
Yeah, you share.
For me, mostly
your
it
love
makes me want to
of
have a
music to
nap,
them.
but
Right. I guess you share your love of music with someone. You see the joy it sparks in them. You remember the joy it sparked in you, and then suddenly you're cured. I
that's
think
why
is
Will's gonna be the better parent, guys.
basically what that's saying.
To our future children.
I mean, I hope I still love. I was. It's funny that you mentioned. I still presume. I mostly love all the same stuff I've loved since I was like a teenager. I like rock and roll. I like rock and roll music. I like playing guitar. I like video games. I like the same kind of comedy.
Whereas I think I like digressed closer to like first grade or kindergarten. Like, I just like glitter. Glitter
just
brings
like
me
glitter.
joy.
Do you want some glitter, dear? I'll
Yeah,
get you
I
some
like glitter.
Yeah,
I like
glitter's
glitter
good.
for Christmas. But in any event, so that's that's where we're at. And as her luck would have it, after she's re-sparked her joy,
Yep.
the conductor of the show that's going to be the Christmas Eve show offers her an invitation to apply for the Vienna Philharmonic.
Yes. Big deal. Real big deal.
Apparently, again, like, Hallmark really tests people's classical music knowledge, I have to say.
I mean, I think that's mostly because classical music is in the public domain. The same way all of these Christmas songs are also in the public domain, so I don't have to pay money for them.
I just assumed that the Hallmark listener was a little more educated than I am.
I mean,
but I think you're
how many
right.
conversations about classical music have you had in your life?
0.
I mean, how many times are you like Moonlight Sonata? That shit slams, man.
I mean, I think I probably had like a conversation about Mozart back when I was playing violin, but like not about him, just like, hey, you have to learn this. Cool, cool.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you used to play violin. Is this woman you? Do you need to
No.
relearn
I never
your joy
became
of
a
violin?
concert violinist. But that's okay. I mean, I think every kid learns something and takes something away from it. The thing I took away from music was order and sequencing and memorization, which doesn't sound like that joyous, but just go with me here. And it's why our house for our holiday gifts today has 3 different IKEA bags. Ones that are going to Brooklyn, gifts that are going to Maryland, gifts that are going to Florida. It's very highly organized, and I'd like to thank my violin teacher for that.
I also want to point out when it comes to music, I love the aesthetics that you're attracted to. Here's a quick story. Chelsea and I were in the Times Square Guitar Center over the weekend, and just kind of looking around, and Chelsea was like, I saw a guitar that I want you to play for me, and she brings over to me a black and neon green Jackson guitar with the pointy headstock. Now, Jackson is primarily known for being played by extreme heavy metal musicians.
But it was cool. It was like hand scrap. Like, okay, for other like homeowners, when you look at floors, there's like hand scraped floors. This was like a hand scraped guitar.
And I got to say,
and it was cheap. It was like only, well, I don't want to say cheap, but cheap compared to some of the other like gazillion-dollar guitars in there.
Yeah, exactly. You could buy for $5,000, you could buy a guitar that has been made to look like it has been scratched up,
which is stupid.
I personally think relatively stupid, but if you like it, all the more power to you. But this Jackson was very cool. I really I dug it.
But back to our storyline.
Back to the storyline,
which I had not at all given ounce of thought to the fact that all of this is in the public domain. But now I will see the Hallmark movies through that lens. So thank you, darling. But
Oh, no problem, sweet. I will say the roasted chestnut stand, I don't think made an appearance this year.
no, and we were at like
movie.
6 festivals in this movie.
We were at like I'm gonna say a higher than average number of festivals in this film because again I think like Vienna, Germany, like they're just like gonzo for Christmas. Like they love Christmas festivals and
I
street
love
fairs and
a
stuff.
Christmas festival and street fair, but we're in the middle of a pandemic and they just aren't existing right now.
Well, it's not quite the same, but
There's like a half-assed one at Bryant Park. Go check it out. But
it's socially distanced, but the booths are socially distanced.
which makes it more crowded in each booth. But whatever. I'm just
It's kind of an interesting non-solution. But so we've got and then I'm gonna say our Dark Night of the Soul, which is a term I use in screenplay structure, like when everything's going wrong, lasts for a pretty long time. We've got
the whole movie, everything's going wrong.
we've got our main character. We've got Mark, who's like, oh, he's vexing over his job, but he's
also like creepy too. Can I just say that? Like he's kind of like
creepy. How so?
he's got like that perfect face and like I don't know. I feel like when men like take the back of their hand to like caress your face, it's just a little creepy. I don't know what it is. I find it childish and awkward.
Oh, I'm gonna see if I can unpack that. I'm sure every man has maybe seen that move in a movie of some kind,
And they're like, we should do that.
well,
no,
it's set
don't.
up and it's set up in like a way where and can I demonstrate? Can you scoot closer real quick?
For our viewers, for our listeners who can't
So
see
I'm
this.
gonna
Sure.
I'm gonna reach my hand out. So we think we're being like, oh, you're so beautiful, and like it's an intimate
No,
moment.
it's creepy.
But I think how you react is like you're being like sized up like a slab of meat.
Yes, exactly. That's
So
what's happening.
Maybe there is some romantic advice you can give to the male listeners of the show.
Don't do it.
What is there a more universally accepted
I don't know.
romantic
There's the like
gesture?
hand grab. There's the like taking her someplace magical, which does happen in this movie a couple of times.
That is true. I will say, as far as outside of the plot, like the showcase of Vienna in this movie, I find was the highlight for me. Like
There's
seeing the
also-
architecture and stuff.
Yes, it
Very
was
cool.
beautiful. But
Liked it.
there's also like a significant age difference between the two of them, which may be part of why I thought it was creepy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because
When
he's
you
got
get
like
into
a
the
15, 16-year-old daughter. And so even if he had her at like, I don't know, I feel like most dudes don't have kids super young if they're in the diplomatic corps. But let's pretend he had her at like 30. That makes her like him like 45. And this woman is clearly like 30.
mm-hmm. So you think 15 years is too much a difference?
Yeah.
Is that like universal? Because I agree with you at sometimes. Like I feel like 30. I feel like 30 and 15-year-old. Obviously, that's there are laws against that. I feel like 20.
Are
30,
there? No.
I feel like 20 and 35. I feel like that's a big mental life experience gap.
Yeah.
But then I feel like when you get into like 40 and 55, that's not. You've both lived a little bit, but still, I know that's not the exact same age range.
Yeah.
But do you get the point I'm trying to make?
I do. I mean, it's less that it's 15 years and more that like she's a young woman who's still traveling the world, playing music, and he's got 3 children.
And he is trying to stifle that ambition.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just like there's just a lot of assumption and presumptions in all of
I
these
see,
Hallmark
I see.
movies, but like not the least of which that she was just sort of like randomly asked to care for these children, and that's why he's now fallen in love with her. It's just weird.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that.
Before we get to like our climax ending of this movie, I do want to point something out. There's a serious scene in which Jess is baking cookies with the children, and she says to the children,
right.
they've like gone through all these Austrian famous cookie dessert things, and they name them all, and she's like, you all haven't made sugar cookies. I mean, she shouldn't have that accent, but she's like, you haven't made sugar cookies, the American cookie, right? Like it's the
Yeah, the
and-
good old-fashioned sugar cookie, which is,
Yep.
I'm gonna say like kind of plain Jane compared to the other stuff they've eaten in this movie.
But whatever. I mean, I love me a good sugar cookie. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not knocking.
My
it.
holiday cookies are awesome.
They are. Looking forward to them.
But what was I gonna say about it? Oh, so they have like all these ingredients, and she's like asking them to pull out eggs. Now, I don't know how many of my friends out there are bakers, but sugar cookies don't have eggs. They don't.
They don't.
They don't, and she's got like 24 eggs cracking in there.
I
She made
now
me so angry.
so what replaces the egg in a sugar cookie recipe, or is it just there are no eggs and that's the way sugar cookies are the way they are?
So the reason that sugar cookies do not have eggs, or really they're without leaveners, is because of the holiday shapes that you enjoy. The
Really?
holiday shapes would not be withheld if they had a leavener in them. So they're very similar to like a shortbread cookie, which
Mm-hmm.
also does not have a leavener in it. And it relies upon the butter to steam to make it rise a little bit. But they don't want it to rise too much because then it would puff up and you wouldn't get like your perfect tree cut out.
Right. So the idea is that you and is the egg the leavener? I thought eggs were more of like a binder.
Eggs are a leavener in a baked good.
I see. Okay. So the idea that
Now,
if you
I will
put
give
eggs
her
in a sugar
this.
cookie, they'll be puffy. And you
Yeah,
don't
they'd
want
be
that.
puffy, which is fine. I mean, like, I've had sugar cookies with eggs in them, but if you're making
Oh.
Christmas cookies, which have shape, if you're making cutout cookies, as a rule,
Mm-hmm.
you have the least amount of leavener possible.
I see. I
Because
did
you don't
not.
want them to spread. That's why you keep them in the fridge until the very last second. You put them in the oven. You don't, because you want the perfect shapes. You want your Rudolph. You want your Santa. You want your
Right.
stocking.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I did not know that. Yes, I remember when we were
Flour,
watching
sugar, butter.
Flour.
Sometimes cream cheese.
This is my second favorite like freak out over ingredients that you've had because I once showed Chelsea a video of a carrot cake being made by Ron Beth Israel. Is a very famous cake maker in New York, and
Or so he wants you to think.
his carrot cake recipe did not use cream cheese frosting. He used white chocolate, like Swiss buttercream.
Yeah.
And Chelsea and all of the Southern women that I know because I'm
I'm
from
not
Maryland.
I'm not Southern, but whatever.
You're
Go
not
ahead.
you're not Southern.
I'm from New York City.
I'm gonna say, oh, okay. Let me I was saying like I'm from Maryland,
He
so
is.
I
He's
know
from the
Southern
South.
women, according to some people. But if
It's south of
talk to
Mason
Alabama.
Dixon line.
So, but literally anybody who bakes or enjoys cake that I showed this video to is like, it's not a carrot cake. Nope, gotta have cream cheese frosting. Not a carrot cake. Not a carrot cake. Very very inflexible. I'm gonna say, pretty inflexible.
Because what makes both a carrot cake and a red velvet cake are very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And to counteract that cloying sweetness from those two cakes that you get, you need the acid of cream cheese to cut through it. And so the idea of adding on another cloyingly sweet frosting onto a cloyingly sweet cake is just not okay. It's not okay, folks. And y'all can fight me on it.
Cloyingly? What?
Cloyingly, like it makes your your jaw lock up. It's so sweet.
Ah, I see. Okay. So let's get into kind of overall impression. Overall,
Sorry. Anyway, but the long story short, so at the end of this,
Mhm.
it's not clear whether or not she makes the Vienna Philharmonic, but it's like pretty clear she's gonna. And
Yeah.
he's decided to stay because his children told him to, which happens in reality. But whatever, let's suspend disbelief. So we assume they're
Mhm.
gonna be happily ever after, living a life in Vienna of all places.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure some of my friends in Geneva, Switzerland, are listening to this podcast, and Sarah and Matthias and others. If you are, I just want you to know that I appreciate how adorable it is where you live all the time. And I assume that Vienna is exactly the same in its adorableness. And why wouldn't you want to live in Vienna your entire life? Why wouldn't you?
I mean, if
It's adorable.
I mean, if you're in an adorable place and you're doing like the work you want to do.
It's also one of those fun countries that recognizes vacations.
Yeah, like all those countries that are like, oh yeah, we give everybody like 3 weeks off and everyone has like a 4-hour work day
Yeah.
and we take 2-hour lunches.
I love all of my friends in Europe because they're like, you send an email, work related or otherwise, and they're like, I'm on vacation. I'll be returning at this and this time. It doesn't say contact so and so. It doesn't say in an emergency, here's my cell phone number. No, it's just I'm out. See ya.
Yeah, exactly. When the standard of like you remember the concept of break rooms? Like
Sure.
I remember have jobs where I've had break rooms, but now now I also remember jobs where you just eat lunch at your desk.
I mean, that's been my life, my whole life. But
Well, lucky you.
eating lunch at my desk.
Well, I always aspired. Well, outside of becoming a
I don't think that's a
professional,
good thing, but go ahead.
well, outside of becoming a professional comedian, my other greatest aspiration was to have a job where I sit down, because all my jobs were standing.
Oh, you just white collar job snobbed me. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, dear.
I'm
I'll take
sorry.
it back.
And one of my other favorite jokes about like service industry jobs in particular is by a comic named Mike Lawrence, where he talks about like wanting to get out of jobs where you have to wear a hat. You know,
Yeah.
hat should be optional. You know.
Yeah, I mean we pretty much have to wear our red painters hats everywhere we go, but in any event, Union strong.
Union strong.
The one last other gripe that I have about this movie, and then we can get to rating and finishing it up here because I know our listeners are anxious to get to the next episode.
Certainly.
But the littlest of the three children, a girl named Isla, who I presume is about 6 years old,
Yeah.
maybe 7. She is sort of taught to play the violin throughout this, and like I don't know, gets 3 or 4 lessons. And for folks who've played stringed instruments, on what planet does she just know Silent Night at the end of like 3 days of learning how to play?
Right.
Which is what happens in this movie, and it's amazing, and we just like glaze over it like it never happened.
Yeah, and you don't hear like her like
It's not out of tune,
her-
it's perfect.
yeah, and you don't hear like anybody playing louder to drown out the kids bad playing. No, just instantly picks it right up.
She's also playing it like on an adult's violin size too, but whatever.
Yeah,
It's
because
just perfectly in tune, right? Because kids know how to tune their own instruments.
yeah, and this and the other surreal thing that I'm going to point out is that our character, our main protagonist is from Philadelphia, and as part of the gift giving to these kids, she gives the son. I'm going to say middle. Do you think middle or
He's
eldest?
the middle child.
Middle child. The phrase "a hook to a place to hang your hat" comes up a bunch, and she finds a Philadelphia Eagles hat in the middle of Vienna, Austria.
Or my other theory is that like she had brought it with her, and she's just giving him her Philly hat
I mean, maybe.
and a hook
And a hook to
hang it on.
to hang it on.
Yeah.
Because that was like their bonding. Like, you know, Isla gets to like learn to play violin, but the most they get is this this turn of phrase that.
Well, you know, she's got to relate to 3 children in less than 2 hours. It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do
So
what you can.
what's your overall take on this one, Will?
Man, I gotta say, for I would have to say this is not one of my favorite ones. I was not overly like drawn in by the performances or the plot necessarily, which I know I'm really splitting hairs when we talk about the plots of Hallmark movies, but I'm gonna say I'd give it 2.5, mostly for the shots of Vienna and the city.
I would agree with that because the dude was so creepy the whole time.
Yeah, like I was in.
And arrogant and standoffish, and like, why does she still like him? But okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot of charm with him.
Also, we're
his
making
buddy,
major life changes to like
life changes.
move to Vienna of all places, guys. Like, it would take a heck of a lot of convincing to get me to move out of New York City. But there's like very few places I would even consider, and it would need to be like a long consideration. You know?
Yeah.
For example, the Maldives is offering you to move there for $30,000 for an entire year if you want.
Wow.
And I'm considering it, honey. So start thinking.
All right, I'll start.
You want to live for a year on the beach?
That's a great pitch, but I also would have to research the current government structure and stability of
It's a
the
Caribbean
Maldives.
island. Well, it's not Caribbean. It's an Indian island off the coast of India.
I mean, anywhere where I don't have to hear the word Proud Boy and Twitter and the president's
You may
Twitter.
have to hear Twitter because I tweet for a living, but you know.
Okay, and I can make adjustments, but maybe I don't. So I don't have to hear the president's Twitter every day. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for that to stop. But yeah, I'm gonna say, you know, as far as like production hit it out of the park on this one. But I gotta
we blew
say,
our budget on the set for sure.
yeah. But and the 100-year-old Ferris wheel, that was kind of cool. But I have to say, wasn't terribly engaged by this one. So I'm giving it like a 2.5.
Yeah, I also don't appreciate Hallmark if you're listening that you just copied the same storyline from earlier. So do better. We're like very early in your premieres, kids, and for us to already be replicating storylines.
If I was gonna be in Hallmark's defense, I would say Chateau Christmas is about a woman who's forgotten to play from her heart. Like she's still doing it, but she's just robotic. This is a woman who has fallen out of love with playing music and needs to refine that joy of playing music.
Leave it to you to find the bright side, Will.
I mean, that's what I'm eternally trying
folks,
to do.
I'm most excited, assuming that you're listening to this episode earlier in the week and want something to look forward to later in the week as a rule, which I support. Hump day, pizza day. Anyway, but our next episode is going to be about time travel and Christmas. And we're so excited to watch it tomorrow and record our next episode with you all. But I just wanted to offer it as a precursor just to get folks excited to keep listening. We're well past 100 downloads and listeners now. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
And you can follow us on all the social medias. Clearly you are.
Yes, indeed.
For folks really listening, show us that you're listening by tweeting to us or Instagramming to us or Facebooking to us. What do you wear when you're watching the Hallmark movies? And please, nothing inappropriate. We're looking for jingle jammies and onesies and cuteness. Okay, let's not get kicked off the social media.
Yeah, exactly. So you let us
Hot
know.
cocoa,
Yeah, let us know what's your setup for when you're enjoying a nice Hallmark original movie.
And one lucky listener will get some swag from Will Carey's other podcast. So please do participate
if you guys are listening to this, we will send you reach out. We'll send you some stickers from my podcast Between Awesome and Disaster,
and maybe some other fun things like my super secret sugar cookie recipe.
And folks, I'm telling you, you are gonna want that recipe because those cookies are delicious. Those cookies are immortalized. Immortalized, is that how I'm trying to say that?
Immortalized, that's the word. Yeah.
On our wall from one of the Creek in the Caves bake-offs, which we very sadly we lost the Creek in the Cave this week, folks. But
great New York City venue, but they'll live forever in our hearts
and on our wall. A lot of memories in that place, but we'll go and create new ones. So thank you guys again so much for being here. And if you got any questions, and again, let us know how what's your cozy your cozy uniform for watching these movies. I'm on Twitter at Comic Will Carey. Chelsea's at Chelsea Connor.
And we are at Hallmark Pod on the Twitter. We're at Hallmark Podcast After Show on the Gram, and at Hallmark 2020 After Show Podcast on Facebook.
Yes. All applicable links are in the description. And thank you guys again so much for being here. And we are looking forward to our next film,
which will be in the future.
Ooh.
Or will it be in the past?
Wow.
La 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 la. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.